FNAF Online Multiplayer is a FNAF fan game where you and up to 4 friends can try to survive the night together. You'll need to help each other out if you want your best shot of survival. In this video, I'll be covering the 4 roles, what they do, and how best to play them, and also how you should be working together to play them. I'm sorry if the audio sounds a little weird. I don't really know how to write a script for this, so I'm just kind of doing this freestyle, basically. First up is the security guard. Your main responsibility throughout the night is going to be to wind Freddy. In between winding Freddy, you should be making sure that you're checking your doors. There's a specific cycle that I normally do where I'll left light, right light, Freddy, and I'll basically just loop that throughout the night. But make sure you're still listening for audio cues, especially if it's on the other side that you're about to check. Do note there is currently an input bug with Freddy, where if you're clicking on the Freddy icon, keyboard inputs may stop working. If that happens, simply just release the Freddy icon and keyboard inputs will start working again. Next up is Backstage. At the very beginning of the night, for like the first 30-ish seconds, your responsibility is to flash Foxy. In between that, you'll need to make sure you're keeping the Endo at bay, and if he gets to the X marked on the floor, you just need to flash him. You want to do this because it'll actually stun him for longer, and you'll know you've done it correctly if he screams when you flash him. It's very noticeable. You'll also want to be making sure that you're repairing your systems in between everything else that you need to do. But that is more of a priority than something like, just flashing Foxy, which realistically, after the first 30 seconds, you don't need to be doing. One thing is if you really struggle with audio cues or if there's just really loud stuff going on in general, make sure you close the door behind you when you're repairing systems, just so you don't get surprised by somebody. Next up is parts and service. At the very beginning of the night, you want to build up. I usually go to about a 50% power reserve. You can do more depending on how it goes. Then, after that, your responsibility is to flash Foxy. I normally do a cycle for this where I flash, check the door, flash, check the door, stuff like that. When it comes to power, your first priority should be to yourself. You want to keep yourself higher than everybody else for a couple of reasons. For one thing, if you run out of power, nobody else gets power. But another thing is, in a pinch, it's actually faster to transfer power from yourself as opposed to the reserve. So that also, and another thing is if the reserve goes down, you can still transfer power from yourself. You have to be careful about how much you transfer because you can actually overheat the generator and that causes it to immediately fail. So you have to, it's a balancing act to make sure everybody has power without overheating or without starving yourself of power. Last up is the janitor. At the start of the night, you should go to the communications tab and call everybody so that other roles like security can focus on just keeping Freddy locked down, for example. At the very start of the night, after about 5 seconds, you should place a lure on the far right side to basically just give other people some extra time to do their start of night things. After you place that lure, play the Freddy in Space minigame, and you want to build up to about 200% total oxygen. That's 100 base and then 100 extra. If you want to be good at Janitor, practice the crap out of Freddy in Space, because if you're bad at it, it will zap your power like that. You should be keeping track of the animatronics using your motion detector and using the communications to call out who's in danger. For example, parts and service Bonnie's at your door. If Freddy goes to a door, you need to lure him away because he will never leave. If you're good at it, you should complete the Wordle. But if you're not good at it, it's not really worth wasting your time. Another thing to note is the motion detector will work even outside of cameras. You will be able to hear if someone is in that area, even if you're just out of cameras. One quick thing you can do as Janitor is if you're really low on oxygen, you can actually eat some exposure to try to regenerate some oxygen. It's not a guarantee, but it's something if you are at the tail end of the animatronic leaving, you can do. This is basically useless against Freddy unless you have like really high oxygen though, because Freddy actually stays for longer. In general, if a camera roll goes down, so for example if security dies, someone else needs to take over the responsibility of winding Freddy, or if parts and service dies, someone else needs to start flashing Foxy, because otherwise everything will just get way harder, like even more difficult than the loss of a person. If Backstage dies, then the Endo will actually come out and he'll start attacking everybody. He'll show up as gray on the motion detector. And it's important to note, Endo does not make any sounds when he gets to a door. If the janitor goes down, Golden Freddy comes out. He's usually not that difficult to deal with. Obviously, just if you see him, look away. In a pinch, if audio lures are down and Freddy is at parts and service or Backstage, security can actually fail a code to basically become an audio alert, but you need to be skilled enough to be able to maintain the doors. Bonnie has very quiet audio cues, but there are still audible. Chica has decently loud audio cues. If you want to get really good, you need to be utilizing the keyboard to help you just move around, because while it is entirely possible to use the mouse to navigate, it is not efficient at all. One final thing to note, if you run out of power, that's it. Parts and service cannot get you more power after you run out. So if you're really low and you know parts and service is alive, stop using power as much as you can to try to give them a chance. And that was a quick guide. I hope it helps you out. If it did help you out, then please give me a like, comment, show your support, tell me if you want more of this. I don't really know what else I could do this for, honestly, but, if it's what people like, I should probably keep making it. So yeah, thank you for listening, and goodbye.